Hello, this is a video to teach you how to use the formula column feature of the all-in-one reports in EmpowerDB. Formula columns are an incredibly powerful way to create a column of data in your results that is in some way based off of any other columns of data in here. So one of the first examples I'm going to show you here is like adding these two columns together. That'll let you do that. We can do even more complex logic statements. We can create like links and other text based off of other text in this report. So there's just so many things that you can do with formula columns. This video is meant to only kind of show you the basics of what we want to do. So, our example here is just kind of exporting out services in the past 90 days. We're grouping by client. We're looking at the service type and we're looking at their direct and collateral time spent. And that should be enough for us to get started. So we can click here, add a column, add a formula column. Here's that formula column that gets created. And now here is a block of code for us to write the formula. The formulas that we'll be writing here are using the PHP programming language. So you might not even, if you just want to do simple math things, you don't actually have to worry about like what programming language you're using. It's just simple math. It's 2 + 2 in the same way that you would do in Excel or anything else. If you want to get more complicated than that, then you need to start learning a little bit of how to code in PHP. At this point in our fantastic technological history, I would say the best place to learn how to code in PHP are artificial intelligence chatbots like ChatGPT. They are incredibly good at coding. They will answer all of your questions of like, how do I do this one specific task in PHP? And it's going to talk you through it. And you can ask the dumbest questions in the world back and it won't judge you for it. It's just going to give you the answers. You can even give it like a full complex, description of what kind of code you want it to write. And it's going to write a whole bunch of code and you'll have to modify it a bit in order for it to apply into here. But it could even go so far as just basically do everything for you. EmpowerDB support, we're happy to help you as well if you have questions. At a certain point, you will need us because we know more about our system than ChatGPT. But ChatGPT is going to be great for kind of getting instant feedback and instructions on how to do certain things in here. Okay, so let's see. We're just going to start off with doing a really simple thing. We're going to add that direct time and collateral time spent columns together to see a total time spent. So in order to do that, we need to insert a reference. So now this is going to be a reference of some column in our report. So we're going to do our direct time spent plus another reference. We could also be pressing Control-R on our keyboard to add that reference. And then we're going to select collateral time spent. So this prefix here, raw and processed, we'll stick with raw here. And when we're dealing with pure numbers, the raw value and the process value are going to be identical. But in other situations, we'll find out in just a moment. We'll see why there's a difference between raw and processed. Okay, let's save that. And we're going to see our results. We're adding this column with that column, and we're getting all of these numbers. Fantastic. Okay, so again, if all you're trying to do is basic math, this is all you need. And again, I wouldn't expect there to actually need to be too much programming knowledge in order to do this math. Okay, let's do kind of what I would call like creating a new string. So maybe what we want to do is make it so that there's kind of like a prefix of like services before we start listing our services. So we can say services and then insert a reference and say this is going to be a list of our service types. Okay, this is actually wrong. We cannot just write the word services. It's going to think this is some sort of computer code thing you've done, and it will give you an error. in order for you to tell the computer, oh no, this is actually text. It's text. It's don't do any coding things to it. We have to put it in quotes. So I have put it in double quotes here. It does not have to be double quotes. It can be single quotes. But if you choose single quotes instead, you stay consistent. Like you can't start with single quotes and end with double quotes. Okay, and one last thing. This PHP wants you to put a period anytime you're trying to join two things together. So that's how it knows that you're taking this and you're kind of combining it, joining on the next bit of text with that. Okay, so there's a couple other things wrong here intentionally, but I'm gonna on purpose proceed and then pretend like I'm confused. Save changes. What? Zeros? Why is there zeros here? I should be seeing that whole string thing we told it to make. And that is because of this. Formula operates on the inner rows. So because these results are being grouped by client, we have a bunch of inner rows for this test client. And the formula is being told to operate based off of those inner rows. And we can open this up and see what's going on. We have services 7. That's what we're expecting to see, kind of. And then this 0, we're getting that because it's taking the sum of everything that's inside of here. This is not a number. This is a thing that says services 7. So the computer code is being like, that's not a number, so 0. So that's why we're seeing 0 here. Basically, if you've done a big formula and you go and you save it and you get so excited and then you press save and you see the results and it's just so weird right here. And you're like, that is not at all what I was expecting. It's probably because you've got this formula operates on set incorrectly. So here we probably want to say operate on the outer rows. And now we're seeing, okay, it's taking this outer value here and putting that after the word services. And now we're seeing 7. Why is it showing 7 instead of housing search? I wanted to say services and then housing search. The reason why is because we are looking at the raw value. In this case, the raw value is different than the processed value. We're not actually saving inside of EmpowerDB the words housing search. We're saving the number 7, and then the computer later on is showing you that the number 7 equates to the word housing search. So in this case, we might actually want to say, actually, I want to use the processed value for service type. And now we're seeing more of what we're expecting to see. It could be the case that you do want it to operate on those inner rows. And maybe now you want to start, I won't complicate it that's too much. We'll see what happens when we just do this. So now we're operating on those inner rows. And we've got service, let's do one of these where we've got a bunch. Okay, we've got service, reminder call, service, that. And now let's say we want this combine into to like show me everything from inside. So that's fine. We don't need a new formula for that. We just want to change, instead of doing a sum, because it's actually not numbers in there, we can do a list. A duplicated list is maybe something you might want. This could also be a good case to use concatenation. And now we're doing kind of this. See how they're all kind of blending together? And then that's why I might want to introduce some HTML into here and say, okay, I want each of these lines to be in their own paragraph. Don't know HTML? Again, just cannot recommend ChatGPT enough for having to learn kind of the basics of some of this stuff. So you just tell it like, I have this. You copy and paste what you have, and I am seeing this instead. Why? And it will give you some good explanations about why. Okay, yay, this is what we want to see. We want to see a list of services like this. Okay, this example here is, you would never actually want to do this. I'm just kind of showing you some basic things to do. Okay, so let's completely remove this. That is what you would need for just doing some like really, really basic things. To get more complicated than that, we might want to do some more, some logic statements. And in order to do logic statements or anything else much complicated, you're going to want to take a look at the list of the functions that you can use in order to accomplish things. So we're going to click on this link, and it's going to bring up this Google Doc. It's just much easier for us to maintain because we update this all the time. And this will explain all the different functions that you could use in order to accomplish something. These are the basic PHP functions. So ChatGPT, if you're asking it how to do a thing, it's going to give you some of these functions, and it should be fine that you'll just use these functions as PHP intended. But there's a bunch of functions that we have created on our own, and that you could use as well. For example, edate is something you might use quite commonly to turn kind of a raw date value into not only a human readable date, but a human readable date in your time zone. So we've tried to do as good as we can to add documentation about how to do these things. Okay, so take a look at that function whitelist for how to do some more complex stuff. But I'm just going to show you some really basic things. So the first thing to know is that there's a difference between single line formulas and multi-line formulas. This is not a typical PHP coding thing. This is something that we've created on our own. We can use the function if then to do a comparison and then show one value if something is true, and then optionally another value if something is false. So let's insert a reference, and we're going to say, I want to look and see if direct time spent is greater than an hour. So that's the first condition. Direct time spent, we can even do like greater than or equal to an hour. And then the next parameter, we're going to put a comma to say the next parameter. Okay, and then we have to close off our parentheses. So this is saying, here's the condition. If it's true, I want to show the text more than an hour. And then if it's false, I don't care, I don't want to do anything. Okay, I'm going to save that change. And I'm going to ungroup this column so that we don't have to deal with that. Okay, so now we see all the ones that had direct time spent of an hour or more now have that text in there. Amazing. So that was just a single line. We can actually go in and add line breaks here, but we would only be doing this kind of for our own readability benefit. Like we don't actually need those line breaks. They aren't being processed. This is basically just these line breaks are being processed as just extra spaces. So this is still a single line of code, even though it's on multiple lines. Tricky stuff. And that's because it's just kind of, we have one instruction we want you to do, and computer's doing it, and it's done. I think it's totally fair to anthropomorphize the computer here, the EmpowerDB server, and be like, okay, if I'm working on a report that's going to have to run this formula on thousands of rows, and I create a super complicated formula in here, that's going to make the computer do a lot of work, and it will go slow. So if you can boil down what you want the computer to do in just one line of code, that will make it go faster. But it's totally fine if you want to say like, gosh, I just want to do a complicated thing. I want to start off complicated, and if for some reason the computer's going slowly, it's taking a long time to do, I will somehow find a way to make it easier. So here is the multi-line version of how to do this. I can say if, and insert reference, direct time spent is greater than or equal to 1. And now what we want it to do. Now, because it's a multi-line formula, we have to specify if this is true, we want to return that. And now, rules of PHP say, every time you have a new line of code, you have to end it with a semicolon. This is kind of most programming languages, at least that I'm aware of, have some sort of rule like that. Okay, so this is the syntax. If the condition in parentheses, and then a curly bracket, and then whatever you want to do has to end with return, and then end curly bracket to say end of that whole situation. We can come in here and put in else if. So if it's not more than an hour, let's do another check. Maybe we want to check to see if it's negative. And say, okay, is it less than 0? Now we want to return. Okay, so in activities, this would never be negative in this situation, but whatever. And then we can add another thing in here, say else. Okay, go up there and make this all more accurate. Okay, end of curly bracket. Say formula. Okay, so now this is a more complex formula. And did you see it came back super fast? So it's fine. Computers are actually very, very good at doing math. So if this is better for you and the report is running quickly, you don't have to worry about trying to boil this down into one line. Okay, you can even get even more complicated in this. You could do, inside of here, say now if this service type is 4, then I want to say return more than an hour is normal. And then otherwise, we say more than an hour is not normal. So maybe like service type 4 is like counseling or something, and it's constantly going on over or more than an hour. Okay, so you can just go nuts here. You can add in comments. Counseling is okay to have more than an hour. And those comments are going to be fine. You have to start a comment with double slashes, and it will, and then whatever you write after this just does not get processed. This is just to help kind of explain to you or someone else later what's happening in the code. Okay, let's see. What else can I show you how to do? I want to make sure this beautify link is clear what's happening. So let's start off with a new one. So if we were doing kind of a single line of code, we can say if this is more than an hour, and then maybe there's another if then inside of that. So if the result of this is true, then I want to look again and say, is the collateral time more than an hour? And then if it is, then I want to say both more. And then if it's not, we're going back. And so, boy, my brain is starting to hurt. We're like really deep in all these different functions. We can click this beautify button, and then now it's kind of hopefully makes it a little bit more easier to read. And say, okay, we were here, the result of this is that, the result of this is that, and then we need one more thing to say just the direct is less. Okay, so it kind of helps us read it a little bit. You don't have to click this beautify if you don't want to, that's fine. Okay, and then last thing I want to show you is, let's say I didn't have this comma here. Okay, nothing changed. When we go up, we see that there was an error. Formula column, right now this is just called formula column, on line 7, syntax error, unexpected direct less. T constant escape string expecting blah, blah, blah. Computer gibberish. This is like what the actual, I'm not the one programming it, how to form these errors. This is just the computer code, the programming language coming up with these errors. Again, you know who could explain what that error means? ChatGPT. This is not a commercial for OpenAI or ChatGPT. So if you paste in that error, tell it, I got this error, and then paste in this formula, it will tell you exactly where that error and what the problem in the formula was. It'll be like, oh, you needed a comma there. Again, EmpowerDB support. We're also very happy to help you with this, but I'm just keep saying about ChatGPT because it is currently free and it is immediate. Okay, so there you go. There's the formula. You can even do things like have a hex color. I think this is some kind of yellow. So Google hex color picker, and it will show you how to create this hex color value. And let's see, am I getting there? Did I have it do it on a thing that never happens? Yes. I'll bring that over here. Okay, so now this formula, if it results in this color, it's going to turn the entire row that color. And you can use this as a way to highlight specific rows. Maybe you would want to change this to be like color change formula. And then you're not going to want this actually being visible. This is just kind of a formula column to kind of help you identify different rows. And you can make a really complex formula that, like, in certain situations it turns into this color, in other situations it turns into another color. If there's multiple formula columns that result in hex colors, and it's like maybe this cell got defined as light blue and this cell got defined as this orangish yellow color that I picked randomly, then it's going to always just use whatever color it found first. Okay, and so yeah, this column, you don't want to stick around. This was only being used to help change the rows, so we're going to unhide that, and anytime you want to use that later, you can bring it back over here. Okay, this is going to be the end of this video. Again, I've just criminally given you the tip of the iceberg as far as what you can do on these formula columns. Read the documentation, read the whitelist, get your feet wet a little bit. Let us know how we can help. We love helping with this kind of stuff, but this is the kind of thing where we kind of need to see how you do with what you've seen so far, and then we'll be better to kind of guide you on how to accomplish the other fantastic, wonderful things you can do with these formula columns. All right, thanks so much. Hope this helped.